Today is Saturday, October the 13th. We're coming up in the cold days for me here on the East Coast. Finally, I've been looking forward to this winter. Before we get started on the show, I just wanted to thank you guys, everyone who subscribed on Twitch, through Patreon, and especially those of you who joined our Discord server and jumped in. Really appreciate the support. We're building a pretty nice community. Discord link should be in the description below. discord.fortiscoregaming.com. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the show. I am Frosthaven, and today on the stage I'm joined by the Utility Man and Hidden Spike Trap.
Hey everyone.
Hi.
So, how are you guys doing this week? What all have you been up to?
Stuff and streaming.
Stuff and streaming?
And stuff.
What'd you stream?
Let's see. We did Enter the Gungeon Monday, Tuesday. I actually did get to stream Dead Cells. I didn't die in the hurricane. I feel for
Dead
those
Cells?
who did. And then we got to play...
Dead Cells?
Did I say Dead Cells?
You did say Dead Cells.
My brain said Dead Space. My mouth said Dead Cells.
I was
No,
going to
Your
say.
brain just said dead.
So you did Dead Space and
I actually
Visage.
played Dead Space. And then we got to play Visage. I never even clarified how it's
It's Visage.
Visage? Okay, thank you. Clarity.
You
Which
know,
was really awesome. I did that Thursday.
I love that part in Chapter 9 of Dead Space where she died and had to go back to Chapter 1 because it's a roguelike, you know?
No!
What chapter are you on in Dead Space anyway? You're getting up there, aren't you?
Did we just hit the end of Chapter 10? Or did I just start Chapter 10?
I almost want to say you're
I
at
think
the
you-
end.
Yeah, I think you hit the end of Chapter.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we have Chapter 11 and 12 left. So, if I happen to actually finish it earlier than normal stream length time, I'll just start Dead Space 2.
You probably will.
Dead Space 2 is really good. I think you'll enjoy it. If you liked Dead Space 1 at all. But I have to admit, between watching you play Dead Space and watching you play Visage, I'm surprised you have a voice box left.
Yeah, me too, because I also had Paragon Paragon of Fate or D&D session just last night, and I screamed at the end of that, so...
Which is perfectly okay. She doesn't need a voice. She's just a bard.
Yeah. Okay, but do they make her actually sing?
Oh, they've tried a
See-
lot.
See, if I were DMing that, I would make you sing.
They've tried a lot. I'm also considered a failure as a bard anyway, because I don't seduce everything, and she's had some pretty bad, experiences with trying to talk herself, in and out of situations.
So true to life, then. What have you been up to, Utility Man?
Well, outside of just having to move a room full of furniture, which I'm exhausted from, mostly this week outside of our streaming, I've been doing editing. It's the second week in a row we've had to stream every day, so there is extra editing to do. I've been doing some anime and working on my games wish list.
So you never run out of room for work on the cutting room floor.
No, I am working 7 days a week.
Jesus. Well, at least it's doing something you enjoy.
Yeah, it is nice when you see that finished product after all your hard work and it looks exactly like you wanted it to.
And then you realize you still had to run it through Handbrake.
Well, the handbrake has to be the first thing
I know,
that I
but
run.
there was
so
a time when...
There was a time when.
Until we upgrade the Premiere to handle the VBR, variable bitrate, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it does it. That's weird, because, I showed you my settings. I keep it set at constant. So...
I know, and she has her set to constant too, but it does the same thing for her. It never records at 30 the entire time.
So I've been playing a lot of Enter the Gungeon.
Yeah.
I wonder, I would have never guessed.
I do want to personally blame you two for that, though, because you've been streaming that so much, it got me interested to actually play it. And then Danny pulled the trigger and gifted it to me, so I had no
I
choice.
pulled the trigger.
Why are you blaming YouTube? What did it do?
What? No, you too.
He's personally blaming YouTube.
And not the
Well,
band
we're on
U2.
Twitch, so I guess you can get away with that.
Yeah, it's YouTube's fault. So I've been playing the hell out of that, and I've been cracking out. I guess you guys knew the Fallout 76 gameplay footage from all the YouTubers that were invited to the party and schmoozed up by Bethesda to get them in a good mood for their 3 hours of prime time. All of that footage dropped at the same time, so I've been cracking out on all of that. And man, oh man, that's going to be a part of my segment today.
Oh, but just a
Oh,
part.
you mean, yeah,
It's
not
gonna be the
all
whole
of it?
thing.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be pretty close to the whole thing. So, if that's intros, I guess we can go ahead and just jump into it if you're up for it.
Yeah, sounds good.
So I'm gonna be playing this GameSpot video in the background, just so you could see some 76. If you don't want to be spoiled at all, Hidden Spike Trap, just don't look. The worries I had before the gameplay footage came out were that this was going to be like an empty shell of a game. I'm less hype. I know this sounds bad, and I'm not trying to dump on the game, but I am less hype for Fallout 76 after having watched people play it.
I just had to hear it from you. And yes, my way of not looking at it is taking my glasses off because I can't see anything.
That's fair.
So, yeah, you've made me, like, the more and more you talk to me, just telling me some of the tidbits, I can't even talk anymore.
You guys are surprised this game is hollow? I'm
not surprised.
The
but
very first Warp Stage 3 that we talked about this game, a couple months ago, I said this is what it was going to be.
You did call it.
Of course, I didn't know that I was going to be right, but that is what I assumed was going to happen.
Yeah. The first thing he said when I started to tell him about what you were telling me was, I called it!
And see, it's extra depressing for me because I'm a Bethesda / Fallout fanboy. I will stand by some of their most ridiculous problems and say it's not a big deal because it's worth it anyways. Like all the bugs you had in 3, all the inconsistencies and bugs, and even the problems with the dialogue in 4, I still dumped hundreds of hours into Fallout 4 because I'm a fanboy. Now, having said that, I want to talk about some of the things that they brought up in the gameplay footage that maybe wasn't very clear until we could actually see it firsthand. The first thing is the lore inconsistencies. And this is kind of a big deal for a Fallout universe. People have been following this game since the original Fallout games from Interplay and whatnot. You know, the developers that then moved into Obsidian. Like, if you look at Fallout 1 and 2, they had a lot of universe there. They had a lot of lore. Fallout 3 mostly did a good job of retaining the lore. New Vegas was obviously good because it came from the original story creators. And then Fallout 4, there was some inconsistencies, like with the XO1 power armor. There was the whole issue with the Nuka World expansion where you could get a fully painted XO1 suit of power armor that was pre-war, and yet, like, in the actual lore of the game, the XO1 shouldn't have been there at that point in time. So there was a lot of weirdness there. Fallout 76 mostly just destroys and throws away any lore for the sake of just having something there. Like, perfect example, Jet exists in this game. It's not supposed to be invented for a very long time, like a lifetime after this game takes place, because this is like 25 years after the bombs drop, and then like a lifetime later, a kid invents Jet, but it's in this game. So that's one thing. We saw teased inside of one of the Bethesda players' inventories that there's a Brotherhood of Steel jumpsuit. The Brotherhood of Steel doesn't even travel from the West Coast for like another 50 years. So how did that end up there? And then the caps, which you can almost explain away the caps, but you've got to do some real mental gymnastics because the caps didn't become the primary currency until the hub was set up many years later, and they used the caps instead of the NCR bucks as a form of currency. And so we're basically fresh out of the vault Americans, 25 years after the bomb drop, and automatically we're just using caps. Like, duh, of course we're going to use caps. Like, how does that doesn't even seem to make sense to me. So there's a lot of lore inconsistencies. And then furthermore, even the lore they add to the game, Oxhorn, I watch a lot of Oxhorn's lore videos because he's a really good storyteller. Even in part of this game, there's a holotape. It's like a 5-minute long holotape, and it has a kid apologizing for things he's done in school, and the kid is like 16. Okay, well, you're already running into problems with your news story because if it's 25 years after the bomb dropped and it's a 16-year-old kid, there was no pre-war school for him to have possibly gone to complain about. Well, so it's like that doesn't even logic to me.
Wait. The holotape was supposedly have been created like recently?
Well,
was it like a pre-war holotape or something?
It could have been like during the war, during the fallout. It could have been right after. I think it was actually right after because the kid was complaining about wanting his dad to come home because his dad went missing during all of this. But you have to understand, it's a 16-year-old kid that's talking about his high school experiences, which...
Nuclear fallout.
Right. So let me ask you this: Did they set up a high school like after the bombs fell or something, and paid teachers and all? I don't know. It's the way he's talking is very pre-war, and yet he should not have even have been born at that point. So good job. It's like me talking about the good old days in the 30s. Let me tell you about them 30s I was in. So that the lore inconsistency is kind of a big deal for me because I love the Fallout story, and I know this game isn't supposed to be a mainline Fallout game, but you would at least expect it to follow a consistent storyline. At least, at the very minimum, with the stuff they add to the game, right? Like, the game's new lore should not contradict the game's new lore. Like, that, in the same holotape. In the same holotape, they're contradicting themselves. And so I think that's a big problem, and hopefully it's very minimal when that happens.
Now, I, of course, am not the best at Fallout lore. I started with New Vegas, which I just watched her play it. So there's a lot I don't know. But when this was first announced, I was kind of wondering how they were going to work this in. Because now my biggest reference, which would be World of Warcraft, I understand. They had that take place after their mainline games. But this one apparently takes place before the mainline games, but after the war. So they would really have to be specific and precise with any new element that they added.
Yeah.
I'll say, one of the things for me, I was like, just in all of that, when this was first announced and we weren't entirely sure if it was going to be super multiplayer focused, even though that was the main rumor, I was like, this seems like it'd be amazing, plot section. It could be vastly different than the other games in the series. I feel like there could be a good amount of potential here in, how things are just starting out, getting to live through that first time of, madness and chaos. And it's not really any of that.
Right.
It is like a sandbox, build your own Fallout experience, and while technically in a way that's partially living up to, but I don't know, I feel like there could be so much more depth to it, it's like, you could be the person who tries to help start setting up the new areas. You could be that asshole that is like ruining everyone else's.
So I think,
and NPC wise, like I just feel like there's so much that they could have done. And before you comment on that, and one more thing about the kid, when you were mentioning that you were maybe he was hoping like he wanted his father to come home, he could have been talking about his father being in the war, and like he was hoping his father would return from the war, and not necessarily that he went missing after the nuclear fallout. I don't know because I didn't listen to the
The person interviewing him though is post-war, so it's
okay. Then never mind.
Yeah, so any logic. I know you want to make it work. I tried really hard in my head to like explain it away, because if I can justify it, even if it's like out there aliens, right? Like if I can justify it, I can live with the story. But so let's get on to the next thing. There is weapon level locking. I don't know how much you saw about that. I watched. It was in one of Juicehead's videos, right? He went out with the intention to say, okay, a lot of people's probably going to be covering the main story. Let me just do what Fallout's always been best at, which is just running around, exploring new places, and see what I come across. So he did that, and his reward for exploring and going out and looking at new places was a minigun, which he was something like 20 to 25 levels away from even being able to use. So I would imagine to him, and if I were in that situation, it would almost feel like you really got shafted. Like, not only were you not rewarded for exploring, but you were kind of slapped in the face for exploring. Because it says, like, maybe you should have come here when you were a higher level. We're not going to give you anything for now. You have to wait 20 levels. Now, on the surface, I understand level locking weapons. Any kind of game like this, because it's not a Fallout game per se, uses level locking weapons. The problem I'm seeing is this the way these two systems interact, right? Like, you've got your open exploration. They really wanted that in the game, but then actively battle it by having level locked items.
Well, I think it comes back to the fact that, again, they're trying to make this a multiplayer game without removing the single player scenario. And the issue there is that they compete with one another. Like, they don't coincide very well. And it's kind of the same thing with, right from the start, saying that it is going to be a multiplayer game, but we don't want to isolate our single players, which is great. You kind of have to say that, but it makes it feel like that they were kind of stuck. Like, oh, this is such a great idea. Let's go ahead with it. And they get into it, and they got it, a few months from coming out, and they're like, you know what? This wasn't such a good idea.
and Hidden Spike Trap did say one specific word that stuck with me, which is depth. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a very wide ocean that's like 2 inches deep, because they're really trying to please everybody. And Utility Man, you talked about the multiplayer and single player dichotomy. It seems like they're trying to please both parties. And what I saw in the game was that you can solo, and by and large, the game looks really easy. I saw one guy solo level 5 taking down level 40s, I think it was, enemies, and they were only doing like 5 or 10% of his health per hit.
I vaguely remember you mentioning to me that like a small group of low levels was taking on like a higher level enemy, but I don't remember you mentioning me that someone level 5 soloing a level 40?
Yeah, that I saw that recently.
High level. Like, I mean, I never expressly thought that the Fallout games were like extremely difficult or anything. I feel like they could be middle of the way, and they actually had their difficulty settings. But it's like the problem with the fact that for multiplayer they don't have difficulty settings. Just like they don't have PvP versus PvE servers like they should. It's like they put it on. Well, with that, it sounds like they put it on the baby scale.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Like, it's just... I mean, I understand people who don't want to have too hard or difficult of a game, but, like, try to find the middle ground at least. I'm sorry, no level 5 should be able to beat a level... It's like they're both level fucking 5.
Yeah. And I mean, there are rumors going around that, maybe because it was a preview build, and they wanted people to get as much footage as possible and go wherever they wanted, maybe they just toned down the incoming damage that players were receiving. I haven't seen anything official, so at this point, it just seems like a lot of people trying to justify it without facts yet.
I can imagine that being the hope. Like, this has to be the case, right, guys? This is ridiculous, right, guys? They just didn't want them to suddenly get one shot, and it's like. But then at the same time, it's like you're promoting. Just going back, I guess, to the level locking. Like, you're promoting this exploration, and even in this preview, by letting them go wherever. But it's like, why do you even need these higher level guns when you could just kill a level 40 as a level 5?
Pretty much. They do have scaling, which is different for solo, and in parties, the way everything scales is different. So, single player, just from what I've seen, and I mean, again, we can only judge on everybody's 3 hours of footage, right? But from what I've seen, solo, you can take out anything you want. It's just enemies just kind of become bullet sponges, which is, I guess, it's a little bit worse than, say, hard on Fallout 4. Where everyone's a bullet sponge at some point until you just overpower them. But that's not really difficulty, right? Like, that's just bullet sponginess. To complicate matters more, they've taken a step back on AI. Like, as we know, there's no human characters in the game that's not a player. So that means you're not going to see, like, raiders, you're not going to see gunners shooting at you. Now, they did something really interesting to solve for that. They introduced a new enemy called the Scorch, which is... if you took a raider and took ghouls, like the feral ghouls, and combined them, you would get the Scorch. So now you have a ghoul that can use weapons or charge you down in melee. So I thought that was really cool, but they're definitely taking a step back from Fallout 4, going backwards, because everything that I've seen seems to indicate that the Scorch have almost no AI. They'll stand out in the open and fire at you. Whereas in Fallout 4, as you know, at the very least, raiders would try to duck behind corners. They would try to hide from you. And we're not seeing that in here. When Juicehead was playing, even the higher level Scorch would just stand on a hill in broad daylight and stand still for you to shoot them while they're attacking you.
If I go over to my local game store and I'm looking for a new game to purchase, and I come across one that says everybody wins the game, I'm already not going to purchase that. Right. I don't want that. I want the ability to actually lose. And I know that seems crazy to a lot of people because losing feels bad, but no,
that's a game.
Is learning.
You can't have a game without a lose state, a fail state. If there's no fail state, you're not playing a game. That's how I see it.
Also, well, yeah, me too, but it's just like, how can you call it a win when you couldn't lose? It's not a win, you just completed it.
Right. There's no
trophy of this generation.
Without any risk, without any possibility of failing, it kind of removes the meaning of it all.
You're playing Kirby's Epic Yarn. Cute as hell game, but easy as fucking no fail state.
Actually,
Kirby with Fallout skin.
You can die. It's like
you can't. You? I don't even remember.
Like you can't die by hitting enemies, but like you can fall into lava and die.
Wow! Even Kirby's Epic Yarn has a fail state.
It has. Yeah, you can.
Again, it was a good game. It was fun, but it was easy. But it had its target audience.
So if you die in this game, just to like kind of make that worse for you, if you die in this game, what I saw take place during this pre-beta footage, someone went across the map somewhere really far away, they died, and they respawned like a 5-second walk back to get their stuff. And their stuff was their scrap. So dying is inconsequential in Fallout 76. You're basically God mode with an intermittent 5-second walk.
Well, it doesn't even have like graveyards in WoW or something. It's like designated. I mean, I guess in some ways, it's like without having towns or big markers, it is kind of hard to have spawn areas. But still,
I was under the impression that you respawn at nearby points of interest. So it's possible that out of all the footage I saw, everyone was just close enough to points of interest, or it could also be true because the level designers at the very least did a great job with this game. There could just be points of interest in so many locations you're never more than like a 5-10 second walk away from where you were. That's possible.
What that tells me is that I can't play this game, because if I ever did, after I die once, I'll never respawn, because there is no point of interest for me. I'm not interested.
Well, the players are supposed to bring their own fun, right? So you'd have to do your own hardcore run. If you die once, you have to start a new character. That might actually make this game fun, actually.
Oh, I got you. So I die once, and I respawn over at the local Pizza Hut.
Hey, Southern Songbird, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kay, Rachel.
Welcome, AK Rachel.
So that's the other issue. Now, let's talk about the actual holotapes, lore, and the multiplayer, because this is another area where they're trying to please multiple people. They want you to group up with your friends to play this game, right? Like, the big thing is you can, air quotes, play solo, and we all know what that means. So they want you to be in a party. They want you to be with friends. But they also want to appease the lore guys. So what do? They have holotapes that are like 5 to 7 minutes long from what I've seen in some of these things. Now, let me ask you a serious question. How many friends do you know that could get together into a party of 4 and be okay with pausing everything every few minutes to listen to a 5-minute holotape that is dependent on the location you're in to understand the context?
Well, none. Given the fact that I've watched Mila stream Final Fantasy XIV, whenever her group got into a cutscene, most of them just skipped it because they didn't want to wait.
And even if you have a group of friends, let's say you've got 4 people all want to play this game, and they're all lore fanatics, right? There's still going to be that thought, at least in the back of my mind. Tell me if I'm crazy here, but even if I know they're interested in the lore, there's still going to be that thought in the back of my mind that I'm making people wait for me. And so there's like a rush. There's like a negative feeling in that.
Yes, okay, so this isn't like any of those games, but when I used to play Vindictus, yes, I know, it had good raids, but it actually had a somewhat decent overarching story to it, and it had decent cinematics. So when you first got to certain areas, certain bosses or whatnot, you would have a cutscene. However, since you're usually in a party with randoms, if they've already seen said scene, you can skip it. You can press like escape or whatever.
Right.
And if you want to see it, they have to wait until everyone hits escape. And for a lot of the popular raids, especially, you'll start seeing people like after a few seconds, people start putting in chat, hit escape, hit escape. Like it's like, what if it's like this isn't that long. It's like this is only like say maybe not even a minute cinematic. It's like, and they're already impatient. It's like, let alone having someone wait for 5 some minutes. I mean, it's like, I know at least in that case they're your friends, I would expect, unless you do start forming random parties for fun, which I assume is still something they hope people will do. There ain't no way people are going to want to wait. And in a lot of ways, that's also one of the reasons I have problems with MMOs. I told you this in Discord. We were somewhat chatting about it. I like to be able to go a bit at my own pace, at least as far as leveling goes, because I'm someone who likes to explore, even in MMOs, especially certain types of MMOs, like
Right.
Rest in Peace WildStar. It's like there's a lot of stuff and little lore things you can find, and I want to see those. But people that just kind of want to rush through everything, which does happen a lot in MMOs, you can't just take that time. It's like one of those things where it's like, all right, guys, I'm just going to mute you for the next 5 to 8 minutes so I can hear this. Do whatever you want.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up too, because the MMO marketplace has been so explored. They understand a lot of these things, which is why you'll find in games like World of Warcraft, most of your time-dependent lore that takes a while to get through is going to be in your questing experience. That's going to be in your single-player experience. Whereas if you go to a raid, you'll still get lore tidbits, but it's usually in the form of some kind of voiceover. It's very like a culmination of all the lore you've gone through in your single player experience, and you'll get that lore in a very digestible way. You're not sitting there stopping the raid to read a book and saying, hey, everyone in the raid, hold up, I haven't read this book yet.
Yeah, you usually have NPCs that move along with you and talk as you go.
Right. But, you know, we can't have NPCs in 76, So what do you run into? You run into the problem where you've got a group of people and everything has to come grinding to a halt because you care about your lore. And I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that guy that says, all right, everybody, hold up. For the stream and for everyone in the party, hold up, because I'm going to be listening to this 5-minute holotape and muting the mic or muting the headset.
Yep.
I tell you what you do. You just have a 2-mile-long wall with the story just written on there, and you can read it as you walk down it.
There you go. That could work. You have to take the sprint key out, though, in order to do that. I wouldn't put it past him at this point. Hello, Evil Mumu-chan. Welcome to the show. So,
welcome, Evil Mumu-chan / JD.
So the next thing, I don't think this is going to be as big of a problem if you're new to gaming, or if you were born into like the newer generation that's getting into gaming now. But for those of us that have seen this and played this, to its extent, I want to talk about the kind of quests people are getting. They did do one thing right. Every time you turn around, there's a quest or an event. So there's always something to do in 76. Here's the problem. The problem is what that something to do is. Fetch this, kill that, escort this. So for those of us that have been around in gaming for a while, I think we've collected more bare asses than we want to revisit again. And if you played Fallout 4, it seems like most of the quests that I saw in the footage for 76 is a lot like the Radiant quests in Fallout 4, which I maybe did twice, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. I think the only Radiant quest I did more than once or more than twice was the go here and kill this, but that's just because I was going to do that anyways.
I mean, the whole fetch this, kill that, that seems kind of mundane and overdone. It's like we're kind of tired of that. And then you get to escort quest, and it's, no, give me back those other two.
Yeah, escort quests are literally the bane of my existence. I don't like them in any game I've ever played them in. I know I'm going to hate them in 76. Because they force pacing on you. Like with kill quests, you could usually come back with stronger weapons. With collect quests, usually just group those up with the kill quests and accomplish more than one at a time in the games, right? Like that's how we would do it. We'd like, 3 things I don't want to do: kill, collect, and fetch. Well, I'll get all the ones that have me do all that in one area, so I at least knock it all out at once. And you got to think about the player's perspective in that. The players aren't looking at it as, oh, let's go to this cool area and combat some really cool enemies. The players are literally trying to find the most efficient way to get it the hell off their quest log. Think about that.
And that's not what you want. You want them to be enjoying what they're doing. Like, I don't know. I still go back to this. I was like, for all that people like rag on RuneScape, I know some of the quest lines were actually enjoyable.
Okay.
In terms of like, I feel like you had some kind of like purpose. You're not just killing things. Sometimes you go through a little bit of puzzling, or you have to like put certain things together. You know, it's like maybe you have to collect this thing, but then you have to figure out what to do with it. Where to take it, you know, or like even like, you know, treasure map type stuff. Like, I don't know. So even some of the stuff they added in Minecraft has that kind of, you know, I don't know. You're right. I'm just so tired of those sorts of quests. I'm like, you can't tell me you're not innovative enough to at least come up with something more than that.
I mean, Witcher 3, granted it's a different kind of game, but Witcher 3, I think, kind of spoiled me on side quests. Because their side quests weren't just kill this, collect that. Like, there were actual side stories you go through.
Well, for me personally, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but whenever I get a quest that's like a scavenger hunt, and you have this huge, expansive world to scavenge for, I just skip it. Like, it's not necessarily that I'm trying to rush through the game, but you give me something where I have to do an hour or two of traveling to get the XP that I could get just from going and killing a few things. I'm just going to go kill a few things.
Yep. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I think are good with this game, because it's not all bad news. Did you guys have any other complaints yet on 76?
It'd be the rest of the show if I start talking now.
Fair enough. What about you, Hidden Spike Trap?
I'm disappointed. Just period. Like, we've already talked about it. Just the main thing for me is just that the one thing that draws me into Fallout the most is the exploration and the little bits of lore you can find. And I feel like this isn't gonna scratch that itch. Like, I'm gonna try to, I'll be able to enjoy it, especially playing it with you guys, though I'm not gonna lie, I'm likely gonna feel a bit rushed. Like, I feel like I'm, I just keep saying it. Like, it's just not gonna scratch that itch that I want, and I'm gonna have to wait till, like, Fallout 5, or if I can even, if I can get into Cyberpunk or whatnot, I don't know. It's like, but that's the big thing for me. Like, just hearing that, like, I understand wanting, like, we already talked about level locked weapons and stuff. Like, I kind of understand it, but I'm that person that they're not catering to.
Well, again, they're trying to cater to everyone,
right.
Which is why nobody wins.
Right, when you try to cater to everybody, nobody wins. Like, I almost wish they would have just been like, fuck you, solo players, this is multiplayer focused, we are refining this, and maybe you can find something to like in it too. And then it's like, okay, yeah, fine, this isn't my game, I can wait for Fallout 5. But no, they decided to be like, we'll give a little bit for everyone, they're gonna conflict, they're gonna, battle each other out, so you all figure it out.
Well, this game in particular has a lot of the same situations that I hate that Pokemon Let's Go does. It's trying to cater to the Go players while trying to give the core players something to get into the game with. And you're just making a game that I don't want when you do that.
Well, I
don't think they're going to want it either.
And this is a problem, and I agree with you. I think they're trying to please way too many people with their offering out of the gate. I think they would have been a much, much better off if they had a limited focus for launch and then said, we're also planning to add X or Y down the way. I think that's a much better way than to give a little tiny tidbit of something to everybody. But you saw things like Blizzard solved this problem eons ago. If you'll remember when PvP in World of Warcraft first took off, right? Like, there weren't battlegrounds. We had the Taran Mill versus South Shore world raids that would crash servers. They were so crazy. And Blizzard said, okay, we'll get you in on PvP. But then even PvP in vanilla turned into mostly one-hit kills back and forth. And so it got to a point where they realized, okay, the raiding and the PvP are conflicting with each other, which is a problem that 76 has, is systems that conflict with each other. So PvE and PvP are in direct conflict. They ended up having to devise a system of PvP specific gear and stats just for the PvP players, because they realized you can't just please everybody and have it work.
Yeah, pretty much. Though I will admit that was a pretty long process, because you had the haste ratings, and then that became a problem. And you had the resilience ratings, and that became a problem. We got to come up with something to counteract that. And I feel like it's a problem that can't be completely solved, but it is much better done for Blizzard than it is of this game.
Yeah, so everything you can do in this game, it feels like, and I think I told you about this, Hidden Spike Trap, but it feels like everything that you can do in 76, just from what we've seen, granted this can all change, don't have a lot of hope for that changing, but it seems like you could take every action and put it into a sentence and end it with a but. So you can go exploring, but don't expect level appropriate gear if you haven't leveled up first. You can read and get into the lore, but do expect lore inconsistencies and 5-minute pauses that you're forcing on your teammates. You can PvP, but expect that your enemy can just teleport out to the nearest place that they want or all the way across the map mid-combat because they don't want to PvP anymore.
You can explain the plot holes, but no, you can't. Never mind.
So, and that's where I'm at with it, is you can do a lot, but the things you can do are very minimal. And you can build, right? Like Fallout 4, I didn't like how pushed building was, but I've had days where I sat there and said, I just want to make something really cool. So you can build, but, again, with the but, it's only in a very limited area. You can only build within the small radius of your camp. So don't expect to have fun building like you did in, say, Fallout 4, with mods especially. So there's a lot of buts in there. And while Evil Mumu-chan might be a fan of that, I can't say that I am. So
is that what you were going to say?
Yes.
So let's talk about a couple of the things that could be good news. Because they are catering to nobody, this is, for all intents and purposes, a blank slate. They can take this in whatever direction the community wants. That can be good, because right now I don't believe it's a game for anyone, but with feedback from the right people, I think it could be. The potential of 76, I believe, is higher than any Fallout game, and probably higher than any survival game like Rust and Ark that there's ever been. There is a lot of room for doing some really cool stuff over time. And I know one of my earlier predictions in a previous show was, watch, 76 is going to be terrible at launch, and then a year later it's going to be a great game. And I think that's probably still going to... I still stand by that statement, because they have a lot of work they need to do, and I think they'll do it. The problem is going to be in repetition and retention. I think people will probably play this game, and they'll probably enjoy it. I will have fun in 76 for a time. I don't know how long that time's going to be, because things are going to get repetitive awfully quick if the preview footage is spot on for the entirety of the game. Things are going to get repetitive awfully quick, but they could improve on that foreseeably in the future. Pete Hines has said he wants this to be a game they support forever. Now look at something like Warframe. Warframe got its start before they added the parkour and everything, in much of the same situation that we're seeing with 76 now. It started out without a whole lot to do, and they tried to please a lot of people, didn't end up pleasing really anybody. But over time, the game became what players wanted it to become. The players helped build and flesh out the game. I don't think that's how development should be done. I think there should be an offering in the beginning, but that's what we're dealing with. And I think right now Bethesda has to sell the promise, not the game we have.
Well, as far as Warframe goes, I think part of the thing is Warframe is free. I mean,
Very true.
right? I mean, they do have microtransactions for aesthetics and things like that. But like, while I do think a game shouldn't necessarily be like, hey, here's this flat game that we would like to build up, give us your ideas. But I feel like part of the reason that worked with something like Warframe is it was free. People could try it. I don't know the origins of the devs exactly, so I don't know what else they might have worked on, but like, especially someone potentially just starting out, or if it's starting out as a free project, you might not have a lot of time. So being able to release this blank state and being able blank slate, whatever. Shut up, Brian. And being able to get that feedback from a free game, free studio, and then build upon that. Listening to your customers, your players.
That's what Steam Early Access is all about, isn't it?
Right. It's a different way to build a relationship, but it's free. I feel like to me that's one of the biggest differences. Whereas like with Fallout 76, at least thankfully so far, it's not like subscription based or anything. You will, but you do have to pay up front for this game that at the moment it looks like a blank slate. It's like, I'm gonna have to pay this now? I'm gonna have to wait a year potentially for it to actually be a good game, or get potential mod supports and let the fans make it a good game.
Overwatch actually did a good job with that. Now that you mention up the free to play versus the paid, Overwatch was a paid product. And it did one thing at launch, and it did that one thing really well. Arena shooter. Nothing else. There was no single player. We're doing arena shooter. And then after succeeding from creating one thing and doing it really well, they started adding in story missions where you got to play as specific characters and learn backstory and all of that after the fact.
Now, the thing about that is Overwatch, at least based on what you just said, it was released as a complete in its element. It had a thing that it did in completion really well. It catered to that type of play style, and as they heard about more interest, it's like, oh, I guess we could expand the game to include this, this, and this. Also, I feel like that's almost more akin to expansions, DLC, things like that, where of course they thankfully didn't charge for that. They still had the microtransactions for anyone who wanted to further support, which is fine, but I feel like that's different. Whereas with Fallout 76, at least, I mean, I don't want to call it out completely, but at the moment it seems like it does nothing well. And I guess to me that makes it all the difference.
The biggest worry I have, speaking on the user retention side of things, like I said, I do believe that they are going to have to sell the promise at this point. They cannot sell the base game as it stands. I think they're going to get a huge boost of day one sales, just like Diablo 3 did, just like WildStar did. And then the problems are going to arise. And maybe it takes 2 weeks, maybe it takes a month, maybe 2 months. But somewhere in the beginning,
that huge boost of early sales, just like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite had. Wait.
somewhere near the beginning of this game's life cycle, Bethesda is going to have a big problem with player drop-off. It's going to happen. So they've created a trap for themselves, in my mind, where they have to sell the future. They cannot sell the now. You've got to sell the future. What I think they need to do, who am I, right? But what I think they're going to need to do is when players are starting to approach in critical mass, the quote-unquote end of this game, maybe the nukes launch, which I'm sure we'll see some of that like within the first couple of days. When the nukes launch, they really need to start getting data points, getting them quick, finding out what players like, what they don't like, and put up some milestones. Here's what to expect soon. Here's what we're going to work on now. Here's what we're working on next week. We've heard your concerns about X. We're going to add Y to the game. They're going to have to be on top of that, or they're going to run into a WildStar situation where people drop off, and it doesn't matter how good they make the game eventually, people won't come back.
I think what they really should have done is they should have had the premise of this game start out before the Fallout, and then when they realized, oh, this game's awful, let's nuke it, they can actually nuke it, and that's the end of the game. They can move on to something else.
Well, I mean, I do think there's room for 76. If they play their cards right, there's room where they could make this the testing bed for new cutting edge stuff to add to their other games. And I think that would be a really good use of Fallout 76. Let's say maybe they want to add something innovative to another game, but they don't want to dedicate their entire studio funding to seeing if it works or not. Simple. You add a feature into 76 after you've already guaranteed the game is what people want, and you see how people react to it. If they react positively, okay, we could add this to a mainline game and people would be okay with it.
Oh, you have mentioned that before, and while I agree that's a great way of going about it, we're a little opposing on whether they will do that or not, because
I'm doubtful but hopeful.
I know fan reception of this game hasn't been the most positive, and it doesn't seem like they're listening yet, so I'm a little worried that they ever will.
That's true. I mean, they haven't given us reason to expect the best. Like, I know the other Fallout diehard fans like myself, but a little different, will tell you they're tired of hearing about New Vegas. But the vast majority of people who played New Vegas really think it's one of the best Fallout games. And what did they do with Fallout 4? They saw everything that Obsidian did to make Fallout New Vegas one of the most popular Fallout games in history and said, scrap all that, we're doing our own thing now. They didn't take any good lessons learned from New Vegas and add them into Fallout 4. So it's possible they have a learning deficit at Bethesda. That is definitely a possibility.
Well, I was gonna say, I was like, if anything, with a company like Bethesda, the WildStar situation might still be one of the similar, better options without the bad ending. Like,
Right.
WildStar, they did make it into an amazing game. Like, I loved it when we played it. And not only, I kept considering wanting to go back, and then you're like, well, we're shutting down, because they couldn't have, like you mentioned, they couldn't get that retention. They couldn't get people to come back. And I feel like with Bethesda, they're going to have that issue, but I feel like they can potentially afford it longer. And if they actually do a good, the good route that, utility doubts, and I also doubt but want to hope for, that, even if it does take time, if it becomes a great game, I'll be ecstatic, especially if we get mods. Like, it just sucks having to wait for that. Like, it already, I think we've talked, either you guys have talked, or like one of the few I participated in, or even in chat, talking about how much I hate how game releases are seen nowadays. Like, they've pretty much gotten the population to accept paying for early access. We're paying to be in the beta instead of, we should be paying you to test this. Or you get access to the beta for free or whatnot to see how, to do part of our job for us. It's, extensive testing. And releasing games incomplete because it's like, oh, we'll just add that DLC that we already had planned out in the next few months, that we can just release this as it is. I'm like, there's hardly any, I should say, true complete games coming out on even certain consoles now. Like, I mean, I'm a Nintendo like fan sort of person, obviously, but I feel like, and even a number of the indie games, thankfully, still even put out complete products.
Yeah.
And and true DLC and expansion, the things that they didn't already have planned, but it's like after the fact the game's complete and whole, they're gonna be like, this would be cool to add later on. It's like, that's what I miss. And I just feel like so many games, I mean, to an extent, I can understand indie games wanting early access now because, it helps them get started.
Well, they'll take Visage for the perfect example. I'm really glad they did early access for Visage because they really are using feedback to improve their game. They're using early access for exactly what it should be for.
Right, and I have to admit, when they give like early access and such for a discount, and then you'll get the full game, you're not paying. Like, for some people, some MMOs and such, you get the Founders Pack where you get the early access and you get extra stuff and then the game. So it's like for certain ones like that, it's like you're paying more just to be in the beta, and they're just treating it as, oh, you get to play this early. It's like, well, really, this is just our beta state.
Yeah, it really does seem like, and if you'll allow me to be cynical for a minute, because we've seen this a lot in the industry, it does really feel like, doesn't it, that Bethesda wanted to make sure people were committing their wallets before getting game time. Like, they really seem to want to do that. And you have to ask why.
Well, to piggyback off what you said, one of the things you probably left out of there, when you say game companies are releasing games that aren't done nowadays, that's why you see physical versions of games come with 6 gigabyte downloads day one. because it wasn't finished when
Right.
they released it.
That, as someone, well, both of us are very physical game merchandise oriented. If there's a physical copy and we can afford it, I'd so much rather have it. Like, we have a number of like physical games over there that we've even gone and gotten, physical copies of old PlayStation, like RPGs is a big thing that we like to actually have on hand. Like, even if sometimes we just play it on like the computer or either emulator or even a digital copy or something, we'd like to have that. It's like the olden days where you had good instruction manuals and all the extra, box stuff, and then yeah, you get stuff where, which one was it where the Switch version was gonna get only a half physical copy?
Oh, you mean the Mega Man collections?
Yeah. You only get half the game on the cartridge, and then you get a digital copy of the other half.
Yeah, you get the first 4 games on cartridge and a digital the other one.
I think that's more just trying to get people into digital rather than physical. Like, the entire industry wants everybody on digital, but that's a different discussion entirely.
Right.
Yeah, see.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, what I hate again is how I mentioned you give me like the physical cartridge of the thing, but it only has like 10% of the game on it. So when I do that download and I look, oh, my hard drive is full now because of this one download, or maybe I don't even have enough space. What are you selling me? You're selling me a hollow plastic case with a download. Looking at you, Ubisoft.
I'll say, and the whole, like, I guess, big point of that, about the whole games not being finished, is because we are in such a digital age, they can get away with it because of patches and updates and, stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, the game's not complete, but don't worry, we can just patch it. We'll take your money now, but we'll patch it, a week or two from now. And that's the thing, that just bothers me about 76. Like, I know Bethesda's not very well known for having stable games in terms of bugs and glitches or whatnot, but their games have at least been whole.
Right.
They have been their own standalone game, and later they'll come out with, their actual proper expansions. I was like, if anything, Bethesda's one of the things I'd refer to when I say properly done expansions, like Skyrim. It's a full, like, huge,
like Far Harbor
expansion. Yeah, like, I was like a lot of the Skyrim, DLC, obviously, even the different DLCs for the other Fallout games. I was like, I feel like they're substantial, and, I don't know when exactly they were planned, but they seemed like they weren't, they took time after the Fallout development, or Skyrim development, for them to go into the DLC development, instead of being like, hey, we already have this entire character roster created, but it's gonna be DLC.
Well, there was a lot of blowback from some of the DLC too, though. I mean, Far Harbor was amazing. Nuka World was a little bit less in my mind, but it was still a good expansion. But then people who bought the DLC season pass for Fallout 4 felt a little shafted when a lot of their expansions were actually just like really small content packs of like settlement things that you could just get off of the mod shop if you really wanted.
Okay, yes, those sorts of things are more like microtransactions than actual expansions. So when I refer to, I am referring to like the Far Harbor DLC or even the Nuka World DLC, even if you didn't really care for it. And, so I'm not necessarily saying all the DLC has to be good, but any of the substantial, meaty DLC expansions, I guess that's the thing. It's like we went from calling them expansions to DLC because, well, you download them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that 20 square miles right over there in the middle of the map that you can't access? That's not because the game isn't finished, it's just a glitch.
So I want to talk, the last topic on Fallout 76 is going to be talking about modding. This one, nothing is official, nothing's going to be official. The earliest rumored time span is going to be late 2019, late next year. Maybe even after that. So they've got a long way to go before mods and private servers come up. But I want to talk about my thoughts on it, because this is another area where I feel like Bethesda's fighting themselves. Mechanics fighting mechanics. They want to support this game forever. How are they going to do that? Where's the revenue coming from? Once the upfront sales budget is spent, where's the revenue going to come from? Is going to come from cosmetic microtransactions that you buy to look pretty in Fallout 76. That can work. It's worked for Path of Exile really well. Path of Exile every couple of months, it seems now, they're adding really crazy stuff to the game. I haven't gone back into it, but there's no denying the fact that cosmetics do work when done right. What I see is a combat of mechanics again, because what happens if they released no holds barred mods and private servers for Fallout 76? People are going to be wanting to play the modded version. They're not going to be playing the primary version, which means they're not going to be buying what? Cosmetics. So
well, that's going to be like the same issue that Blizzard has with WoW. You see a ton of private servers that are taking money away from them because the private servers are offering people what they want and the company's not.
right. So what I see potentially happening, look at the clues we've got. We've got a Bethesda launcher you have to use. Throughout Fallout 4's lifespan, they've really tried to cut in and tell you to use the Creation Club. Every time there's been a huge patch for Fallout 4 the last few months, they have actually been updating it with very large packs. All of these updates is preloading Creation Club stuff, so that if you buy something on Creation Club, it's ready for you. What I potentially see happening, because it's the only way out that makes sense, if your goal is to support this game forever, leased servers, not something you download and run on your computer, but leased private servers you pay a subscription for, and paid Creation Club mods. I do not see something like the Nexus coming out for Fallout 76 where people can create cool stuff and share it for free, because it goes directly against Bethesda's goal of supporting 76 forever. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I understand a game has to make money. And I feel like what you mentioned this a little while ago with the, leased servers, paying monthly. And, even Minecraft does that. However, I don't know enough about Minecraft Realms. I don't know if they also support you adding mods to the server or not. But Minecraft also still lets you download and do your own private server as well. So I don't know if Bethesda's going to let you do a mix, for the people that can't host a server for one reason or another, especially if you want a decent number of people. Like for a lot of people, running a Minecraft server with only 4 or 5 people or something is generally fine, easy. But if you've got 20 up to 50, especially if you have nowadays with all the huge Discord servers or whatnot,
right,
you want to run the big server, kind of like we did with Minecraft. And not everyone's going to be able to host that, so that's what you have Minecraft Realms for. And Bethesda might have, maybe this is just a personal hope, because it would be nice if we could still have our own private servers to run. But I feel like it's inevitable that they're going to have some kind of paid service. Now, as far as mods go, I really don't know. Again, Minecraft obviously exploded. So even with it, as far as I know, buying the game and Realms are its only revenue, besides, I guess, merchandise and such.
Yeah, they have a lot of outer connections being with Microsoft. They've got a lot of stuff going on the side that brings in money. You'll notice Minecraft is also one of the first games put on any new console or digital device. So they've got a ubiquity that I think allows for that. Now, I was talking to Gaston in our Discord server, and one thing we did discuss, they might, and this all depends on how their sales figures look for actually selling their cosmetics, they might be able to get away with it if they are really adding a lot of content all the time. Because one thing you notice with Minecraft, if you go for a heavily modified server, let's say you want Tinker's Construct and all that, all the crazy magic mods and all that, you're opting out of future updates. We skipped the 13 update. That was the underwater update because we had so many mods. So Bethesda could, if they really wanted, they could potentially solve that if their player base looks good enough by just making the primary server more and more alluring than playing the private servers, right? But then again, you have the Bethesda Fallout 76 problem, one thing fighting the other, and nothing really gets along, because at that point they're competing directly against millions of people making mods. You're not going to win that fight.
Pretty much. I was like, that is the conundrum, and that's where I have no idea what they're going to do, because I feel like in a lot of ways they know that the modding community is one of the things that have kept their games alive and so popular even this long.
Yeah.
And while they're technically not heavily maintaining them, I mean, they're, as you said, they still had some, like Fallout 4 updates and such. But it's not the same kind of maintenance that they'll have to keep for 76, and you look like you want to say something.
I feel like if they really understood the impact the modding community had, they would have come out with that right away. This is how we plan on supporting mods for 76.
Unless
I don't think they really understand.
Or maybe they do, and this is just the perfect time to get a budget injection from a new release game. I mean, they do have people investing in this stuff, so it's possible.
I mean, it is also possible, but this is, it's their first big Fallout multiplayer, right? So it's like they want, I guess, in part to figure out how is this going to work with mods. They probably, well, I have no idea. I'm not a game developer. I can only speculate, but, they're not sure how to make it play well. Like, even if they do want to add, cosmetics and stuff, it's like, especially since they even mentioned, wanting to still have single player, somewhat focus on single player experience, it's like, maybe you could do modding if you're just playing solo. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe they'll let you have a, kind of like how Path of Exile now, it's had for a little while now, like the solo self-found. You can play it completely solo
Right.
without any other players. It's like, it almost makes me wonder if they would think to do something like that, in the sense that it would literally be a mode meant for solo, because I believe even in Path of Exile, I mean, obviously Path of Exile is a vastly different game, so comparing it's a little apples and oranges, but they're still true.
Well, I think that's why it works in Path of Exile.
I know, but I'm just giving that kind of example of, I wonder how difficult it would be to give that slight rebalancing on some drops and things like that, because I believe Path of Exile has something similar, but there are a lot of difficulties without having trading and things like that.
They'll probably just leave it to the modders to do all that.
Right, but that's the thing. If they end up not, allowing them, like, I still don't know exactly how they're going to play with it, especially in relation to public versus possible private servers.
I think my prediction for it is they are going to require, at the very least, I think they're going to require Creation Club, which could potentially, by extension, mean the least servers, like I talk about as being a real possibility. I think that they have a lot of leeway to do that, and then lean back on the perk cards you get and say, see, we're not charging for perk cards, so we're going to have you pay for your mods. But we already are doing that in Fallout 4 and Skyrim, so it's nothing new. We're not adding new costs. We're just continuing. And especially because the Bethesda launcher is required, well, what does that do? You look at things like Fallout 4 Script Extender, which allowed a lot of crazy mods, like looks menu and things like that. And in order for that to work, it has to launch the game directly, which you can do with Fallout 4. You can launch it directly. 76, you cannot launch directly. You've got to use the Bethesda Net launcher. So that locks you out of some of these more game-changing modifications. So that's what I see happening. I see paid mods only. I see Nexus only being supported if people find workarounds. I'm sure they will. I see Bethesda saying, don't use those workarounds, use the actual servers. They're unsafe. And I see a potential future of leased servers. That's my predictions. Absolutely Creation Club. Probably leased servers, but I don't want to commit to that one.
The only thing is, I feel like I remember there was that short period of time where I don't know if I'll say Creation Club. It's like going over my head. I don't know that much about.
It's literally just Bethesda's Nexus mods that you pay for everything.
Okay. I was say because I feel like I remember around the time when they were talking about paid mods, especially versus free mods. It's like people were in an uproar.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like especially it's like I understand a lot of the mod creators do have like donation things set up and whatnot, but it's like when the actual company is the one that's like it was like requiring it. It's like I just feel like a lot of people got really upset.
Right, because you're taking this community that built and claiming it as your own and forcing people to it.
Right.
Well, think of it this way. Think about when you go and you sit down at a restaurant and you eat and they bring you the check after and they give you the option to leave a tip. Now, most people are going to leave a tip. They're going to leave how much they want. Think of that versus restaurants that automatically factor the tip in and require you to pay a certain amount. People usually hate that.
Yeah.
Because now it's forced on you.
That's true. That I can absolutely agree with that. Now, the other thing about the Creation Club mods, from the business perspective, not speaking as Frosthaven, but speaking as like a Bethesda bean counter, right? So with the Creation Club mods, where was I even going with that? I had a thought, and I saw you laughing.
Sorry, Brian's dying over you.
I saw you laughing, and it killed me. Right, so you've got the Creation Club mods, and then you've got the Nexus mods. One of the big problems, even today with Creation Club, is that people that make mods for free on Nexus, random people will take mods made by others and publish them on Creation Club and profit off of it, and it's a huge problem. Some of the Fallout 4 modders just straight up quit. Some of the best modders, like the texture makers, for instance, just said, if everyone's just going to steal my stuff and make money off of it, I quit. So
right. I actually remember that.
It would benefit Bethesda to say, nope, no Nexus mods, only go through us and only pay money to get them. It's fairer to the creators, you see.
Well, I mean, I can see positive negatives to that, but yeah, I'll say most people can say getting your stuff, your hard work stolen is ass.
And a lot of people don't respect art in that way. They think art should be free, even if it took you like 3 months to make a piece. Art should be free. People have a weirdness with that.
I'll say, like, obviously, like the thing is too is like there are some people, that do put a lot of work in this mod, but they don't want. They don't want to necessarily charge people. It's, again, like I said before, it's like the donation thing. It's like, donations are encouraged, I love it, I do put a lot of work into this, but I'm not going to force you to pay for something that I did because I loved it.
I'll tell you how you solve it. Sure, go the Creation Club route. Make sure, at least on the private servers, whether they're leased or downloadable and self-run, either way, make sure that mods can interact at a level that they do with Fallout 4 where they can be absolutely game-changing, which you don't get with the Creation Club. So make that work, and then give mod authors the ability to release at like no cost on the Creation Club. I think that would solve it.
Would be nice.
Yeah, but we'll see. So speaking of modding, I think it's time we talk about modding Mario, because you kind of insinuated that towards me, and I have no idea what you're getting at with that. So please explain to me modding Mario.
Okay, so modding Mario is not a new thing. However, the two that we have to show off are relatively new. And the main reason I wanted to do this first one is because this is something, if we get the chance, we would like to stream for us. Somebody has taken Odyssey and done a completely revamp of it. Like, almost everything is changed or new in the game.
Odyssey?
Odyssey.
Yes.
Game that just came out not that long ago.
So does it require, like, downloading bootloader stuff for your Switch?
There is a way that you can do it with and without hacking the Switch.
Technically without hacking, does seem to cost you because we haven't read a lot into it, but it does seem to have they've created what looks almost like a flash USB drive or something that probably has its own bootloader.
Is that specific to the Mario Odyssey, or does that device allow all mods for all games?
I think that's all mods.
Yeah, see, what happened was I found this a few days ago, and I wanted to bring this up, and then just today we noticed that, oh, you either have to hack your Switch or you have to pay for something. I didn't know that before because the article that I found didn't mention that.
So, well, usually mods and stuff, you're going to have to hack it. The problem seems to be that for the Switch, a reliable, safe hacking seems to be a bit elusive still, except for this external piece that is supposed to leave your Switch technically unhacked.
How does that work with warranties? Like, is there any kind of like subtext where if you use this, even though it's external, your warranty's gone?
That again, we'd have to research.
Again, we just found this out today, so I'm not recommending anyone go do this just yet. But the reason why I mention this, that newer Super Mario Brothers that we played for stream, that was a total mod of the game that did not require you to hack your system. So I assume at some point they'll probably get to that.
I'll say, and the mod we had gotten, that newer, you did have to own the game. You had to have the disc.
You had to own the game.
Like, it just basically, used the disc and, kind of worked with it, wrote over it.
Right.
But this, I don't care if it takes, we have to wait a while to be able to comfortably do this, but it does look amazing, and I assume you're going to send him a link.
I'm going to send him a link to it, just a second.
What am I listening to? I can't hear any of you guys doing anything.
I just happened to think I got to go hit enter on the keyboard. So here.
Dummy. Okay, so the one thing you didn't mention was that not only is it overhauled, it's like Kaizo Mario Odyssey.
Not quite Kaizo.
What is Kaizo?
I think we would be shooting ourselves in the foot if we said we were going to do Kaizo.
Have we never showed Frosthaven Kaizo Mario?
You've never seen Kaizo Mario?
Nope. So for me and the people watching, what is Kaizo Mario?
Okay, so Kaizo Mario is like an extreme difficulty hack to the point where you have to use the game's internal bugs and glitches to beat it.
Really? So like the tool-assisted Mario runs they did before, those kind of glitches they found?
Yeah, except you don't get the tool-assisted stuff to do it with. You don't get the ability to slow down the game or anything. You have to do frame-perfect stuff in real time.
Trial and error,
Wow.
trial and error, error.
So did you want me to play this? Is that what I'm doing?
Yes.
Yeah, you can go ahead and play it.
I can't hear you.
You only have to play the first minute of it.
All right, let's start
it. Yeah, the rest of the video is just the creator talking. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know how much of our Odyssey stream you got to see, but again, this is all completely redone. This is not how the actual game was.
It looks like it's a lot more execution heavy.
Yes, definitely. I was like, it's using all the game's mechanics and stuff, but it even mentions, in a bit of an article, that even some level designs were 100% new, really recreated.
See, this almost makes me want to play Odyssey. Because I'm a big fan of execution heavy stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, this would probably be for you then, because even the boss, they have massively increased the size of him. Takes up almost the entire area.
Wow, look at that. That is cool.
Okay, so you can go ahead and stop it there. So, yeah, for those of us that got to see our Odyssey playthrough, obviously we did have quite a few slip-ups, but this kind of thing is the kind of thing you go into it expecting you're going to fail a lot before you beat it.
It almost turns it into a roguelite, like the gameplay mechanics.
Yeah,
not so much the pickups.
like, I'm very interested to see if they can make this playable without you having to hack your system or, buy the little peripheral to go with it.
Yeah, or even, just like what we did, because we put the stuff technically on an SD card for the Wii. It'd be nice if we could do something similar for the Switch. I was like, because even though I would be awful at this, and he'd probably have a better chance, it definitely test all of the different mechanics that they added for Odyssey, especially with all the different cap jumping and bouncing and stuff like that. It's amazing. Plus, they even mentioned there's, a bunch of different moons to be able to get.
Yeah.
And that you can obtain every single moon without taking damage.
Yes.
That's really cool. Now there is some legal precedent set for this, because I don't know if you remember the big legal battles over rooting devices or jailbreaking iPhones and that kind of thing, but the consumer actually won that case, and the court said they bought the device, they can modify it however the hell they want. That sets a really good precedent for people that want to mod machines like this. The only time you run into issues is with warranty. I feel like if this actually becomes really big and popular, Nintendo will probably have an updated terms of service to reflect don't edit memory, even. Because if you edit memory of a running game, that's probably how that thing works. But at that point, you're dealing with warranty, not actually a legal issue of not being allowed to do it in the first place. So there's some winning there, at least.
I think, or at least just based on some of the comments of people talking about, the Switch stuff, the thing that they seem to be worried about the most, I'm sure warranty is one of them, but is their whole online thing. Because Nintendo hasn't really, had a huge, system and account and, pay for online, so you didn't really... Aside from making sure you either turned off updates or were careful about how you got firmware upgrades and stuff like that, you didn't have to worry about that as much. But they were not sure how it'll play with the actual online service. I saw a couple people in the comments mention that they were able to do it no problem. They just had to be a bit careful.
For now, anyways.
Right.
For now.
But let's be real. If this became big and popular and a lot of people started using this method to edit games and mod games, at that point, your choice is: do you want Nintendo's online service or do you want heavily modified games? And I would take the modified games every day. I would say, goodbye, Nintendo Online. You didn't really impress me in the first place. I'll take the modded games, thank you.
I mean, Nintendo's online service isn't that good anyway, which we've kind of covered that.
Right.
And a lot of their games won't even require it, just kind of the first-party games. But at this point, I think hacking the Switch can get you online banned, so I do not recommend that to anyone out there. However, the peripheral will not get you banned so far, and we're kind of hoping, again, we can just do the SD card, which we did for the other game. I'm sure
people will figure it out, or maybe it's out there, and we didn't have enough time to quite look hard into it, but it's just one of those things that we kind of hope that once we get better and somewhat safe access, that we'd be able to stream like we did with Newer, because it looks hella fun, even if we probably won't even get past the first world.
We most likely won't be able to finish it in a timely manner, because we'll probably be taking the full year to stream it. But it will be one of those things where it's good to bring back the social view that we had, where one person can actually talk while the other person's doing the super hard, difficult thing that they're going to fail at 2,000 times.
Yeah, that's true. But I think ultimately, I know everyone's trying to figure out, does it work with online? But I think this road always leads to one direction where you will have to choose. I think what's probably going to happen if this picks up steam is people are going to use it, then they're going to find ways to use it to modify their in-game memory while they're doing an online match, and then Nintendo will have to respond to that. I mean, that's going to happen. So I think you're going to have to choose eventually online or mods. Right now, that's an easy choice.
And obviously, it would be nice if they could find a way to, just ban the anything that's modded when you're using it online, and then it's you don't care otherwise.
So a temporary thing that says you're running a modified, please unmodify it, then connect.
Right, kind of like a detective thing. If you want to modify Smash, you need to revert it if you want to play it online, or else you'll be you can't this kind of like how certain games, online games, and MMOs and stuff have like the hack shield kind of thing.
That's
Like,
an arms
something-
race, though. That's an arms race, and I'm not sure Nintendo's
Oh,
ready
yeah,
to deal
I
with
know.
that.
That's the thing. That's the one thing that kind of makes me worry, and I think that's why some people are worried, because the easier thing for Nintendo is just to be like, no, you're just banned from online.
And
Well,
that's how they've taken everything with YouTube content and using their characters. I mean, they're very well known for hardline stances on this kind of stuff,
Right.
so I imagine they'll do the same here.
Well, there are already people that hack online in Splatoon 2. So
Yeah.
people are going to get away with it anyway. I understand you're wanting to fight against that. But instead of fighting against all of it, why don't you help support the stuff that doesn't damage your game?
It's just a tricky business
It
situation.
is, but you're like you're getting in contact with the community. You're having more to do with them. You're showing that you're more available. And I think in the long run, that kind of goes like with the Fallout subject. If you support the modding community as opposed to being against them.
Yeah. We've seen what being against them looks like, and it's ugly. There's a lot of bloodshed.
Okay, so this next one that I have to show is actually something for you.
All right.
I think you'll get a kick out of this one.
You have a link for it?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to have to go over and hit the enter key again.
Well, then,
Clearly, we didn't think this through.
That's okay. Go hit your enter key. So we
I
got
apologize for this being a Kotaku link.
I appreciate the heads up on that. Oh, I see the headline. That does actually interest me. Modder turns Mario 64 into Portal.
And it's fully working.
it actually looks pretty cool, and I mean, I'm interested to hear what you say.
Wow. What in the world? He actually has like a portal gun.
Oh, yeah. And the entire game is revamped to make use of it, with a lot of the puzzles are going to require it.
That's
Yeah, I'll say they have that little video or of some of the playthrough that you should probably play just a little bit of. Is it the second one or that one?
That one is the little trailer for it, and then the second one is the creator actually playing the game,
so. Here's the
so
trailer.
you can see more.
I will say it's kind of funny to see this in Mario 64, specifically because like at this point the graphics engine's showing its age.
Oh, definitely.
I told you.
Oh, well, I knew the graphics were going to be there, but he's played Mario 64, so...
Oh yeah, I've definitely played. Okay, the logo is great. Link in the description. Okay.
Yeah, so obviously you can pause that. The next video down there, as I said, is just the creator playing through it. You can just mute that and scroll through what you want. You can see they actually brought back some of the other mechanics in Portal, like the duplication process. There is a puzzle in the game where you have to duplicate red coins to get them all.
I don't know how I feel about like bringing the glitches in and require a duplication glitch.
No, it's not a glitch. It's an actual duplication machine.
Oh, okay.
And as you can see, like, the whole overworld and all the stages look Portal-like now. They have some of the enemies. They even have the companion cube.
And that is... This is hilarious. What is that? Like a little ball flying around or something?
That is, as far as I know, the Lakitu that is the camera from the original Super Mario 64.
This is interesting.
Yeah, I thought you might want to take a look at this because, again, all the platforming is Mario, but all the puzzle solving is going to be Portal.
I'm just gonna skip through a little.
Now, obviously, there's going to be puzzles with the metal cap, with the invisible cap, with the flying cap, but still using portal mechanics, which I thought was really interesting.
That's really creative, is what that is. It's like some next level engineering creativity.
Yeah, even I would play through this, and I've never played a Portal game.
You never even did a Portal 2 co-op?
I actually haven't ever played it. Like, I've watched you play through Portal, I've watched her play through Portal, and then, of course, we have Portal Stories Mel.
My God. I love that game, but Jesus.
But I personally never played any of them.
You should really try Portal 2 co-op sometime.
See, if we did that, we'd be stuck in the first room because we never worked together.
That is
if you streamed it, I would watch it.
Now, he would watch it if we streamed it. How many ways can I kill you in Portal?
A lot.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Wow, that people are going nuts with this mod. So how do you get that the Portal mod? Is it just download?
There's actually, as it mentioned, there's a download link. Now for the old Mario 64 game, obviously you don't have to worry about hacking your system or anything for. You can either download it and play it on your computer, or you can get like a flash card for it, which you might as well just play it on your computer.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. It reminds me of what people have done with GoldenEye on the 64. They've done a ton of mods for GoldenEye. Nothing like that, but adding new levels and some new mechanics for online play.
Gosh, I can't even imagine adding Portal mechanics to GoldenEye. Now that
would be crazy.
That would be something I would like to try out. Just how many ways can you shoot your opponent through portals?
I imagine the final level of GoldenEye where you're on the cradle. That'd be like super easy. Just like portal the guy off the edge, done. Credit roll.
I want to see that now.
Oh my God.
See, looking at the hard work that went into this would actually make me want to play Portal because I'm seeing it mesh with something I'm already familiar with and like.
So it acts kind of like the gateway drug.
It does kind of. Like, I was never really interested in Portal before. Like, not saying they didn't look fun. I enjoyed watching them, but it's not something that I ever really considered playing. But now that I see it kind of combined with something I do like, and I see how well done the mechanics can be.
I saw that flat Earth.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be playing. I clicked on this one. The Earth is round, by the way, so.
Lies. Don't believe Ondor's lies.
This is GoldenEye Source. GoldenEye remade for the Source engine, but they added the portal gun to it.
Okay, so that does exist.
Apparently it's a thing.
Of course.
But does it have multiplayer?
I'm trying to remember. I want to say GoldenEye Source had multiplayer, but I don't recall.
That's what I want, a versus mode, but with portal guns.
Well, you really need to play Portal 2 co-op then, because sometimes that thing does not feel like co-op at all.
Well, to be fair, every co-op game her and I play don't feel like co-op. I mean, you've seen us play new Super Mario Brothers. We're trying to kill each other every second of the way going through the stage.
So modern Mario.
Now, obviously, there's like way more out there I could show, but I wanted to pick two that just recently came out. And obviously, when I saw this Portal one, I knew right away I had to pick this one because I know how much you like Portal.
Yeah, I'm going to have to be looking into this. What's that?
Quite a lot of work put in them.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine.
I think that about covers modded Mario, though.
Okay, so
go ahead.
With that, I guess we're going to bid farewell to an old-time Blizzard fan of ours, or not fan, I guess, but
I imagine given the fact that he's a co-founder, he is a fan of his own company, but you never know. Maybe he's not a fan of what it's become, but I don't want to assume.
Mike Morhaime. He was one of the guys that was with the original, what was it called? Silicon and something? I forget. Before they actually even named it Blizzard.
You know, the Silicon part's the part I remembered. I was hoping you'd remember the other part.
I bet you it says in here, honestly. Silicon and Synapse, that's right. And then they became Blizzard and they had Blizzard North. Blizzard North would be like my favorite all-time Blizzard studio ever made. The news of Mike Morhaime stepping down as president, it actually gets me, man. Like maybe I am going to sound elitist, but it feels like the official waving off of the era of gaming that I really enjoyed. As the newer, easier, no difficulty, no fail states games come into the main line. It feels like Mike Morhaime stepping away is kind of like a welcome to the mobile market, but for everything, to me.
I just want to say, like, I'm not gonna lie, I mostly know Blizzard things because of him. Because again, I mean, when I was younger, I wasn't, I guess, exposed to Blizzard games as much as I guess wish I was, and like my father banned me from even trying WoW because he knew I'd get addicted because he was addicted. So
do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. And he pretty much, I'm pretty sure he said that to me exactly a couple times. But I was like, this to me just kind of makes me think of when in Nintendo, when Miyamoto stepped down, where I just, because to me, I was like, I know Miyamoto was like kind of, you know, you're still running a business, but in a similar state of like even Walt Disney, you know, it's that love of what you do that, you know, yes, we're a business, but I love doing games. I love creating these games for people, you know, like Walt Disney. I love creating these movies for people. And it just feels like once they step down, you just get that cold corporate starting to really come in.
Well, I mean, I think that's very apparent with Disney. Nintendo kind of didn't do that.
Well, we also had Iwata, which was, he did a really good job, and then rest in peace his soul.
What happened with Disney, I don't see that happening with Blizzard.
I know that's a bit of an extreme, but I'm just talking about what that person represented in terms of, you know, their thoughts about what they did, their thoughts about their company and their products.
Yeah, they come from
not to. Sorry, go ahead.
They literally come from a time that, in many ways, as gamers, we grew up on, right? Like it's our own legacy as much as it is their legacy. I mean, obviously they're the ones who kind of created it all, but it's our own. Like, it makes me wonder if this is what our parents felt like when the Late Show was given over and the torch was passed on, and what other shows the torch was passed on to somebody else on. It almost does feel like a personal death in a way. Like, I have died and now I am someone else. Like, maybe that sounds really abstract for just some dude stepping down, and maybe a lot of people don't understand that. But I promise when you get older and you actually see...
Honestly, I think what this all really means, like TLDR what I said, we're getting old.
Yeah, we're definitely getting older.
Once you realize this sort of thing, it means you're getting old.
Is that the metric? The way I look at it, old is always 5 years older than what I am. So like when I'm 80, I'm gonna be a spruce young buck, and 85 is old. But 80, no. And then 75 is like, you're a high schooler. Get out of here.
Well, you know, when you were young and your parents would always talk about, you know, back in my day, things were better. And, you know, you thought as a kid, I'm not going to be that way. And then here we are grown up and we're that way.
So
things were much better back then.
So is the next step, like, when we reach that point where we're not sure if like the actor or actresses that we grew up on like are still alive or not? So anytime someone brings it up, you're just like, are they still alive or did they die? Because that's what my parents did.
Well, I mean, we know that Jackie Chan will still be making movies when he's 150, so...
That's true. I'll still be watching them when I'm 150.
Oh yeah, we will too.
But it's sad to see him go, and I think part of it is because I have become cynical, not by choice, but in response to the world at large. I've become cynical about things. It does feel kind of like we're losing that control of our mind share in the industry by having people like Morhaime stepping down, right? Like the cynical part of my brain is saying, here comes the stupid games now. You know what I mean? Like, here comes the games for you to log in and never lose and never have any real challenge. Because I feel like that's where the industry's kind of moved to.
Activision already acquired Blizzard. What are you talking about?
Well, that was the bigger death, wasn't it? This was kind of like we still had that inside guy who was behind enemy lines.
It felt like it. I mean, that's kind of the saddening thing is when we were growing up with video games were not cool. They were not really popular just yet. You know, if you played a game, you were a nerd. But the games were made for us. Nowadays, they're made for everyone, which is not bad per se, because there should be games for everyone, as we've said.
Yep.
But the problem with it is now they're trying to please everyone instead of just making, here's your game, and here's your game, and here's your game.
So he's handing off the reins to J. Allen Brack, which is now the former executive producer of World of Warcraft. So, I mean, I guess it's a pretty smart call, and realistically, I mean, Mike Morhaime has been in this for a long time. Like, I think it's probably past time that he sit back and actually get to relax and enjoy some of the stuff he's earned throughout his life.
He certainly deserves it after all he's accomplished, but again, it will be sad to see him go. Like, it can't not be. If you were there in the early days of Blizzard, which I was, you knew who this guy was.
Yeah. I am sad because this GameSpot article says Giant responsible for creating critically acclaimed franchises like World of Warcraft, Diablo, and Overwatch. What the hell happened to StarCraft? Does that not exist anymore?
Oh, wow.
You know, I didn't even notice that it left off Star. That's terrible.
Wow.
Like, no wonder Raynor still doesn't have the purchasable voice mod in HOTS.
No wonder StarCraft 2 had such a terrible ending.
Ouch.
Well, you haven't seen the ending just
No,
yet.
I have played the first two. I have not played Legacy of the Void yet.
Oh, well, I guess I could have guessed that. If you play through StarCraft 2 all the way, and you actually pay attention to the story, I don't know how much you care about the story in the game. The entire Discord server is going to know you beat it when you beat it, because you're not going to be able to shut up about how terrible it is.
Oh, don't tell me that, because I still want to play it for its gameplay, but if you tell me the story is bad, then I'm so conflicted.
I will spoil the story for you. It makes you say, what? What? And you look around the room, you're like, did you guys see that? Did I like unlock a hidden like joke ending? Like in Visage?
Yeah, because see, when I go into a Mario game, I think, okay, Bowser's going to kidnap the princess again, and we're going to have to save her. Like, that's not always the case, but, you know, I can never say I'm disappointed with the story because I knew what to expect. But StarCraft was just one of those nice meshes of story and gameplay. I cared about both aspects a lot, and if it ever lacks in one of the two, it's just not going to feel right.
Yeah, StarCraft 2, I'm like, definitely finish the game, right? Like, definitely finish it. I think you'd be better off for it, but it definitely takes the Fallout 76 approach of completely going back on its own story and pretending a lot of it didn't exist at the very end.
No, don't compare it to 76, please.
What you're really saying is, please complete it so I have more reason to complain with someone new.
That's probably what he's doing.
Yeah, like Legacy of the Void, for the most part, was a really well-told story, and then you get to the end, and it's almost like they gave it to the new guy who's never played StarCraft before, and said, all right, write an ending for me. And the new guy was like hopped up on caffeine and probably drunk at the same time. That's what happened. Anyway, so Mike Morhaime.
It's like having Polygon design a shooter.
Oh! I'm gonna miss Mike Morhaime. Activision Blizzard is now officially all new blood. Well, maybe not all. I think they still got a couple of holdovers, but mostly
Yeah, they're
new
not
blood.
quite 100% Activision yet.
Yet it's a work in progress. You see.
You know, I remember times where there were even Activision games I enjoyed. I don't say that anymore.
Yikes. So, that's our 3 topics for today. The Fallout 76 thoughts, modding Mario. Man, Portal Mario's crazy. I'm going to have to look into that. And then Morhaime stepping down from Blizzard. We'll have to see where they go from here. What are you looking at?
I think your camera froze.
Oh, it did. And I've got like the confused face for the StarCraft 2 ending.
Well, you know what happened when my camera froze?
I'm not even going to fix my camera. I'm just going to leave it there.
Well, that's a shame because I had one more little surprise for you.
Yeah, I had one more thing to show you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Frost is like, damn it.
Yeah, you know how I have to have my little last 5-minute topic.
There you go.
You know, just to get everyone saying WTF. I got one for you specifically, and JD if he also sees this.
All right, let's see the link. Is this one of those things where you have to run over and hit enter?
Yeah, because...
You're a loser?
No, because if I'm going to send him a link, I have to hit enter. There's no send button.
Could have pre-sent some of them.
But I didn't want
Go over there.
I didn't want to ruin the surprise.
It'll be a surprise, all right.
Okay, I'm not gonna look at the link text. I'm just gonna right-click in the blue.
Oh, this is going to be great.
All right, what am I looking at? SNK. 40th anniversary. This is the one?
This is the one.
What? I recognize that font. Oh, Skullomania.
Yeah, Skullomania.
Yes, please.
Have they sold you this game yet?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely getting this game. Oh wait, is Skullomania a chick now? Or was it what?
This is the SNK Heroines game where everyone has to be female, remember?
I like Skullomania more now.
Remember? Isn't this the game where they put Terry in?
Yeah, they put Terry Bogard in this as a female.
So yeah, there you go.
That is so cool that they're getting Skullomania in there, because I know the big thing with them for the longest was everyone wanted Skullomania, but they could never. Like there was a rights thing, and it was like, but now we're actually getting.
You and JD have talked about Skullomania so much. Everybody I know of that has played that game loves Skullomania. So when I saw this, I instantly thought of you and JD. Like I had to show this off on Workspace.
I'm not sure how I feel about you thinking about us looking at a female Skullomania, but I think I'm okay with it anyways. Yeah, I'm okay with it anyways.
I'm sure.
I think we need to go back to that frozen camera for him. That's kind of my thought process right now.
All right, well, what a show. Any closing comments before we shut her down today?
I need to be in a. You need to hold us down so that I could put a praying pose up for. Please stop fucking up Fallout 76.
It's okay. You're doing a half prayer for a half game. So again, I am Frosthaven here on Warp Stage 3. Utility Man, hit the spike trap, say goodbye to the camera.
Bye, camera.
And we'll see you guys next week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hear echo back there. Are you guys push the talking?
What are you doing?
He hears Elko back there.
Anyway.
No.
So discord.fortiscoregaming.com. 3 ways to support us. You can subscribe to us on Twitch. You can do $1 a month on Patreon if you want to support us more directly. Or the best thing you could do is just drop into our Discord server and be a part of our ever-growing and interesting community. Discord.fortiscoregaming.com. This was Warp Stage 3, and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.